Good morning, world. My name is Jean, and I'm stepping out of my ordinary life today into a very uncomfortable position and being in front of a camera to tell you about an experience I had quite a few years ago. Why has it taken me so long to tell you and to share this experience? Because in the first place, I didn't know what it was called, what happened, where I went. I knew it was beautiful, but I sought to understand it. And then when I understood it, going through that, why me? Why was I chosen for this experience? And then realizing that I asked for it. I asked to be chosen for this experience. And then, of course, after having the experience and understanding all of that, thinking, oh my goodness, how do I tell people this? Because I am so imperfect. I've led a very bumpy life. This material life, this material world has been difficult for me. I can't lie and just tell you that I'm the perfect person for this experience to happen to and to tell you about this. But then I think, who better to tell than an imperfect person, because aren't we all? I think of that song called Nobody. People that were least thought to be the messengers became the messengers. The least perfect people became the messengers. And they were chosen. So here I am. I want to tell you a little bit about me before I tell you of the experience. I was the last of 6 children. My father was an engineer. My mother was appearingly or seemingly a suburban housewife at that time, no different than any other. She bowled. She had friends she went golfing with. She appeared to be normal. And in most cases she was. What I understood about my mother years later was that she was a seeker. She sought to know herself. She longed to know herself at a time where that was not popular. So she had to try to blend in with everybody. By the time I came along, maybe she was just tired of blending and thought, let me step out and dip my toe in the water. And she learned yoga. And I remember at a very young age, practicing alongside her in our living room, the different poses and things, and never understanding that that was the beginning of my journey, that she was taking me along with her in her journey, but that I would continue it. So that was the beginning, and I didn't think anything of it. Never saw anybody else's parents doing yoga, but we all live our own lives, and it's normal. Whatever's in our house becomes normal. At the age of 12, my parents decided that they wanted to learn transcendental meditation. So they went someplace, don't know where. I was 12, and I stayed home and learned meditation through these classes. Eventually they stopped going to classes and started meditating at home, and they would meditate for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon, early evening, about 5 o'clock. And that became my normal. So if I had friends coming over around 5 o'clock, I would be like, shh, they're meditating. We have to be quiet. Nobody ever said anything that I recall. That didn't make me feel different in any way, but it was just my life. Until the moment that they decided that I was to learn to meditate, and that my sister one sister was still home and that she was to learn to meditate as well. So for, I don't know how many Tuesday nights, I do know it was Tuesday night though, because Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days were on, and I missed those episodes and had to wait for the reruns in the summer to be able to see them. So I distinctly remember that, and I know that was traumatic for me at the time. But for several Tuesdays, I went to a house and learned from white-robed monks transcendental meditation. I was very worried about passing the test because I had no idea what they were talking about. I mean, I'm a 12-year-old kid. I don't know. I hadn't ventured into any of that yet. I hadn't determined that I was going to seek to know myself yet. But there I was. And I guess I passed the test because I received my mantra, and I was told to meditate for 12 minutes in the morning and 12 minutes at night. That's how I know I was 12 years old. It's the only reference I have for my age at that time. And I was told on my birthday I would increase by 1 minute, my meditation time by 1 minute, until the age of 20. And at that point, I would stop and meditate 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. So needless to say, I was not real good at that. There were things to do, riding my bike, playing outside with my friends. Of course, when I was told to, I would. But it was a seed that was planted, and it was the beginning. And to be honest, I'd come back to it at times, like we all do. We all come back to something when we're in times of trouble or times of misunderstanding or unease and things. And I would come back to both of them. I'd come back to yoga and just come back into my body and knowing my body and stretching my body and aligning my body really was what I did. And then I would come back to meditation. Fast forward several years later, there's my children walking through the door with their friends going, shh, she's meditating. And then we come full circle, don't we? We all do at some point in our lives. We come full circle, and someday they'll tell you about the trauma of living with a mom like me. They'll be doing videos and telling you of all the crazy things that we did because I was their mom. But anyways, so this is a practice that I had for a very long time that I would come back to. And once the kids were out of school, I really dug into my meditation, really just enjoyed that time. I would start my day with my practice with hot water and lemon, and then I would go ahead and I would do my yoga postures. I thought about becoming a yoga teacher, but to be honest, I stay in a posture too long, and nobody would want to follow me. They'd be like, are we moving yet? Is it time? They'd keep peeking and not really just enjoying the posture itself. But to me, yoga is not calisthenics the way that it's practiced now. It is a practice of coming into alignment. But everything comes into alignment at some point in time. So it's getting our physical body into alignment. And meditation is getting our thoughts into alignment. And a good question is, alignment with what? And the answer is all that is, right? We're here to live in harmony with all that is. That's one of our purposes, and that's one of the reasons that we're here. But yoga does that, and eventually yoga fell kind of to the wayside, and I started practicing Qigong, which is a whole other story that I'd love to tell you about in a future video. But at this point in time, I'm going to focus on that practice. So I would finish my yoga, and I would be facing towards the sun, and I would make sure that my mat lined up with the sun, and that at the time that I was practicing my meditation, the sun was right on my face, so I could feel it. And I would sit, and just that, I would have this beautiful glow. behind my eyes with my eyes closed, and I would just couldn't wait for that moment to get into meditation, just to sit there in silence. And what today, I'd see beautiful colors. I'd feel beautiful, like I would see shades of red and green and blue and things, and they would just kind of move in from one into the other. And I thought, oh my God, this is wonderful. I love this. I started to see a figure, and everything that I had read said, ask, who is this figure? And when I asked, who is this figure, I got the answer, Michael. And just don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. So each time I'd sit down, I'd be so joyous and so happy to sit in meditation each morning and just bathe in that light, in that sun, in that warmth. And one morning, that darkness behind the eyes, even that sunlight, dissipated, and this amazing, bright, white light appeared. And it's not like I could see it. I was it. There was no differentiation between myself and that light. And tears came to my eyes. Still do when I talk about it. Because there was so much love and so much light. It was pure. And I don't know how long I was there. I don't know how long it lasted. And when it was over, I wanted it to come back. It was such a beautiful experience. So that was my experience. And it changed my life. After I came out of that, everything, everyone was beautiful. And people were attracted to me like flies. It was the craziest thing, but I could tell that I just continued to beam light. And it was the most wonderful experience. And I know that is our true essence, our true selves. I know that that light is the light that we come from, and the light that we carry, and the light that we go back to. And everything else on this earth, in this time, is what leads us to that knowing that that's who we are. That is our God essence. In the beginning, there was light. And that was us. Everything comes from the light, and everything goes back to the light. After this experience, I understood quantum physics, which I was not a good science student. I don't understand the terms, but when they talk about it, I'm like, yeah, of course. That makes sense. It does. Of course everything is light. Of course everything is moving. It's at a vibration. I can see it. I could see it. Everything was pixelated. Nothing was solid. My whole life was turned upside down. Nothing I thought was real was real. And that was just the beginning. So I wanted to take some time to tell you that story. This is episode 1. If you're interested to see what life is like after that, please join me again on my next video. And I will do what I feel that I've been gifted to do, which is to explain and to tell you what life truly is, because we're at a time in our existence that we don't understand, and it is so important that we do. So thank you for this time. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope to see you again in the next video.